Today we're going to discuss tricks of the trade and the right tools for the right job. If you're using the manual approach to monitor moisture in your Dura Edge infield, a soil probe is a great tool to use. You should be able to insert it 4 to 6 inches into your Dura Edge infield mix, whether it's classic, collegiate, or professional, and see the moisture in there. If it's going in, you've got moisture. If it's not, it's usually too firm and you probably need to flood more at night. But again, defining good moisture, what is that? That's when you can feel it in there. It's not sticking to your hands all the way through the top 4 to 6 inches. And that's a great way to check your moisture manually. If you've got access to a moisture meter, it's a nice tool to have as opposed to manually checking your moisture. You would insert it just about all the way in to check your base moisture and targeting for between 25 and 30%. The top inch could be as low as 15 or 20, but when you start to see the top inch go below 15 and you start to see your 2-inch area getting below 25, you need to increase your watering. Nail dragging is one of the most beneficial cultural practices you can do to your infield, and timing is everything. So here we are about 8:30 in the morning. At the end of the day yesterday after the game, this infield was properly watered, which usually involves a flood. So they came out, watered the infield, left standing water, and that gives the entire night for that water to soak down with minimal evaporation. The nail drag that you've seen out here is a Beacon Tough drag, and it's got 2 rows of 40 penny nails. There's all sorts of nail drags out there that you can make or purchase. Some of them have 6 rows of 40 penny nails staggered at 2 inches or 1.5 inches, and that's going to get every 1/8 of an inch. The benefits of nail dragging over regular dragging with a mat drag or a broom of some sort is that you're displacing the conditioner. When you displace the conditioner and you get that nail in there with the perfect moisture, you're actually smearing the clay and packing it back into the cleat marks or any impressions that was left from the game before. The most important thing about nail dragging is timing, and that's why you come out and check your infield in the morning, again following a nice proper flood the night before, and when you have that ideal moisture, that's when you go out. What is that? It's when you're walking around on it, you're not seeing moisture come up. You can take your thumb and press hard into your infield surface and make an indentation. That's the perfect conditions for nail dragging, so that's why you take advantage of that first thing in the morning. He literally, grooved in about every 1/8 of an inch of this infield. Then you can take a key and it goes in and out easily and cleanly. You can even bend that key around, there's no chunks coming out. So this would simulate a player spike, in and out easily and cleanly. So again, taking this material and smearing it around and depositing it into the cleat marks and your depressions is the job of the nail drag. You can see here, this is ideal moisture. You'll see the color turn from that darker conditioner to that lighter conditioner, and that's going to be your ideal time to come in with a mat drag to bust up some of these clumps, settle them down prior to the watering to set up for the game. So your Midwest 36-inch rake has been popular for many years in baseball. It's aluminum, it's lightweight. You've got this nice grooming rake here. One thing that's new that's been added to it is the teeth on this side, which this is called the double play rake. So kind of eliminates the use to have 2 of them. You could use this for 2 different purposes. We'll go through the first one, which again, these teeth can be used for grooming and leveling off areas, but it also does a very similar job as the nail drag. So again, that nail drag came through and more or less did the exact same thing as if you were hand raking the entire field with this. So we're going to come up and follow up the nail dragging with this on the edges because it's important to stay a foot away from your edge with the nail drag so you're not throwing conditioner in or taking a chance of hitting your edge. So ideally you come in after nail dragging and you go around your edges. You're walking around. If you see a few cleat marks, you might scratch them out. Most of the time, if it's a clean surface, you're just kind of walking and pushing this around. Again, occasionally back and forth, scraping off any cleat marks to level off, and then your entire surface more or less is nail drug up to the edge without sacrificing the edge or throwing in any conditioner into the grass. So the scraping part of this rake, or the shaving part on this side, can be used for all types of purposes on the mound or out in the infield. One common area that gets built up on all fields is right here at first base, where the bag is. You can see here where it's slightly low, and it's slightly high in here. The rake is touching in the middle, but it's not touching on either side. So now we come in, and we're gonna come through here and come in and let the rake do the work for you. This one mesh flexible drag with a level bar in the front is ideal for coming out at this time, busting up chunks, settling them down below the conditioner, and also at the same time with that level bar, as it goes around, it will slightly pull from high and deposit into low. So it's a good way to continue to keep your grade on your infield, as well as bust up any clay chunks and settle them down for a nice smooth finish prior to your next heavy water before the game. So yet another application of the double play rake is to smooth out the correct amount of conditioner, just floating over the top. You can see here they've stayed about a foot away from the edge with the equipment, which ensures you're not going to get any conditioner in your edge. Coming through here with the double play rake, it's again depositing the correct amount of conditioner, within an inch or two of the edge, keeping it out of the grass. And the best way to address your edges is just a quick walk around with something like the double play rake for your finishing touches or your nail dragging to start. So the finish drag is used for slightly different application than the mat drag with the level bar. It's not going to move as much material. It's more of a pre-game drag, in between innings drag. It's something you can take around the edges to make sure you're not getting your drag into the edges. And ideally, you want to have 1 to 2 bars of conditioner in the bottom 2 rows here of this mat, which you can see this has, and that's about the right amount. It's a good way to gauge your conditioner. But these come in a 4 foot, which you could use on base pass, 6 foot, which a couple guys could do a pretty quick drag on the infield if you don't have a piece of equipment, or you're just looking to do that nice finish drag without trying to bust up too many clumps. So popular rake in groundskeeping that's really just kind of come out in the last 7 or 8 years is a loot rake. This loot rake has been used on tennis courts for many years. It's very lightweight. It's got these sharp teeth on it. It's called a Har-True. And one application for the loot rake is back raking. Back raking can simply, you're kind of pushing it like this and just walking it, not putting a lot of pressure on it. But what that's going to do is open up the conditioner, turn the conditioner over, and allow your surface to dry quicker prior to nail dragging or prior to coming in and doing a broom drag for your game or whatnot. So back raking is a nice application for this to dry your infield out a little bit quicker before taking a heavy piece of equipment on it. One of the best tools to use to smooth out conditioner and do a final grade on looser infield material is a level board. This has a 45-degree angle. There's a steel piece here that keeps it from grinding down the wood as much, keeps it intact, and a nice straight board. So this can be used for leveling your first base area with loose spots and or your conditioner. As you can see here, the tool does all the work for you and allows you to set the angle and deposit material or pull material. So as he's pulling, he's keeping an eye, making sure the material is even with the surrounding area, and pulling material and depositing it where it needs to go. And again, since he's swept out further, he's got a big space. He's at grade on the sides, so this board is touching the proper grade on each side and simply depositing material in the middle. It's a very quick, efficient, and effective way to address your first base cutout, whether it's a monthly basis or weekly basis, depending on what level of play you're at. A very popular tamp out there now that's become a lot of people's favorite is the sweet spot. The sweet spot's got a rubber gasket down here that takes a lot of the vibration out of your hands and on the handle. It also has a head that slightly swivels, so when you're on the mound slope, if you don't hit it exactly perfect, it kind of finds that sweet spot. So just a really good tamp for especially pitcher's mounds with those slopes. This is a 6x6 head. Or actually an 8x8 head, but you can get different attachments for it, as small as a 4x6 for in front of the rubber and as large as a 10x10 for home plate. One of the most important areas is to make sure you're shaving down high spots, being cognizant of the high spots, whether you're using a steel rake or a T-rake that's sharp, double play, or a hula hoe. So if you actually can see major high spots, the hula hoe has a nice sharp blade on it. This is typically used to get out weeds along your edge, but it can also be very helpful in coming in and shaving down high areas to get even grade with your existing grade. Okay, so the next step, now that we've got the conditioner swept out and good moisture in there, is to take some sort of tool like this or a spade and make some nice grooves in there. So this is, again, like the scarification process. It's going to help the new packing clay bind in there and ensure that it's not going to come off during the game. Okay, we've got a bolt drag here versus a nail drag. Again, the nail drag, ideally built with 40 penny nails. You could have up to 6 rows that's going to be staggered at 1.5 to 2 inches. That's going to give you a 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch coverage across your entire infield surface, as if you were raking it by hand with your favorite grooming rake. Your bolt drags typically might be 1 inch or even 2 inches. So you got to be careful with these. They can leave a washboard effect on your infield that can cause the ball to chatter and take funny hops. It's also going to go a little too deep. So ideally, when you're doing your nail dragging, you want to stay in the top 1/4 inch of your surface, just riding on top and smearing it in just as if you were raking your entire infield by hand. I would stay away from bolt drags in most cases on your infield. It's not going to be very conducive for daily routine maintenance. What would bolt dragging be good for? Possibly your warning track. If it was too hard, you really wanted to get into it, you could throw some cinder blocks on this thing and get into your warning track. But for routine maintenance on your infield, stick to a proper nail drag and try to avoid bolt drags.